You're listening to Coupled With, the podcast that helps you take the guesswork out of feeling seen, heard, and valued in your relationship. If you've ever felt stuck in the same arguments, struggled to stay connected, or wondered how to better communicate with your partner, you're in the right place. I'm Dr. Rachel Orlick, a couples therapist and coach, and together, we're going to make relationships make sense. Let's dive in. You know the script. Something feels off, your partner asks if you're okay, and out comes the automatic response, I'm fine. Maybe with the forced smile, maybe with the quick subject change, and on the surface it looks like peacekeeping. But inside, it feels like holding your breath and hoping that they don't push any further. This is the last Encore episode of the summer. And I saved this one for last because I think it's one of the most quietly relevant conversations. The phrase, I'm fine, feels protective. What it actually does to your relationship over time is something entirely different. Before we get into it, if you've been listening this summer and you're not on my weekly newsletter yet, I'd love for you to join. It's where I go a little deeper each week, and it's the best way to stay connected between episodes. The link to sign up is in the show notes. And while you're there, let me know if there's anything you want me to cover in more detail in future episodes. I genuinely want to hear from you. Okay, let's get into it. You know the script. Something feels off between you and your partner. They ask, are you okay? And out comes the automatic response of, I'm fine. Maybe you tack on the forced smile or a quick subject change, like you can will the tension away if you just act convincingly enough. On the surface, it looks like peacekeeping. Inside, it feels like holding your breath and hoping that they don't push any harder. Here's the problem. I'm fine doesn't protect your relationship the way you think it does. Your partner senses the disconnection. They know something's wrong, but your words deny it. That double message leaves them spinning. Do I believe what they say or what I feel? Instead of reassurance, you've just created more uncertainty. And uncertainty over time erodes trust faster than conflict ever could. People reach for I'm fine for all kinds of reasons. To avoid an argument, to avoid being a burden, or because they genuinely don't have the words yet. They're still processing. And that part is valid. But here's the hard truth. Even if you're still sorting through your emotions, saying I'm fine when you're clearly not, doesn't buy you any time. It buys you more distance. Think of it like duct tape over a fire alarm. The alarm might be quiet for a moment, but the smoke is still filling the room. Your nervous system may feel like it dodged a bullet, but your relationship feels like the smoke. And if it happens often enough, your partner will stop trusting the alarm at all. So today we're unpacking what I'm fine really means, why our bodies reach for it, and how this tiny phrase quietly chips away at connection. Because the truth is, you don't want to be fine. You want to be seen and understood and believed. And there are better ways to get there. I'm fine usually shows up in the small everyday moments. When you're overwhelmed, but don't want to start a fight. When you're disappointed, but don't want to seem too needy. The words tumble out, almost on autopilot. It feels like a shortcut to peace, like a quick way to keep things from getting even bigger. But the reality is, I'm fine doesn't shrink the problem. It reshapes it. Instead of dealing with the hurt your partner is left trying to decode mixed signals. They can see the tension in your body, hear the change in your tone, feel the distance in your touch. Yet your words deny it. That mismatch leaves them questioning their own perception, wondering if they're imagining things. My clients tell me that this is where relationships start to really feel like they're walking on eggshells. One partner keeps saying, "I'm fine," but the vibe screams otherwise. Over time, the other partner stops trusting the words at all. They feel dismissed for noticing the tension. And what once felt like a protective gesture starts to feel like emotional whiplash. There have been plenty of times in my own relationships where I've used "I'm fine" as my default. Really, it's because I'm feeling really vulnerable. I don't know how to say it, or I don't want to feel more disconnected than I did in that moment. But my husband would check in and I'd brush it off, even when I knew I was holding something pretty big. Eventually, when I did bring it up, it was way bigger than it would have been at that moment, because I was having to deal with the hurt that I was bringing up and my partner's hurt at being told there was nothing wrong when there clearly was. And while "I'm fine" feels protective, it's corrosive. It buys a temporary calm at the cost of long-term trust in your relationship. Instead of showing your partner that you can be honest with them, even in small ways, you train them not to believe you. And that erosion happens quietly until one day, closeness just feels out of reach. Here's what I want you to know. Saying "I'm fine" isn't lying. It's not proof that you don't care about your partner or that you're emotionally shallow. It's a nervous system strategy. When your body senses threat like conflict, rejection, or overwhelm, it's going to go into survival mode. Sometimes that looks like fight or flight, but often in relationships, it looks quieter, like fawn or freeze. "I'm fine" is the shorthand of a system that doesn't feel safe enough to be real. Sometimes it's because you just don't have the language yet. You know something isn't fine, but you can't quite explain it. Or you fear that naming the truth will open the floodgates to some big conflict that you're not ready for. So your body buys time with those two words, and it promises calm. The intent makes sense. It's trying to protect your connection. But the impact actually becomes disconnection. Silence and denial don't reassure your partner. They leave them spinning. I can think of one of my clients. The first client would ask their partner, "What's wrong?" They would say, "I'm fine." And given their own experience of trauma from their past, every time that happened, they went back to that space where it was so unsafe for them not to read the situation correctly, where their family of origin would gaslight them because they actually should have known something was wrong when that person was saying everything was okay. And so it left them feeling really untethered in that moment, feeling like they wanted to trust their partner, but they couldn't, and questioning whether they could even trust themselves. Eventually, the phrase "I'm fine" became such a hot button that they couldn't even have conversations, or there was no trust when things were actually fine. To make this clearer and maybe a little bit more memorable, I like to say if you're fine, you're not fine. FINE stands for freaked out, insecure, numbed out, and exhausted. That's what "I'm fine" usually masks. And it's also what your partner feels. It's a body that feels unsafe, small, or worn down, but doesn't know how to say so. So the reframe is this: I'm fine isn't a character flaw. It's your nervous system trying to keep you afloat, but what protects you in the moment actually chips away at your relationship if that actually becomes the default. So the antidote isn't pouring out every raw thought instantly, but it's replacing denial with small honesty. Even saying, I don't know how to talk about this yet, is safer and more connective than I'm fine. So why do we reach for I'm fine in the first place? Usually it's not about deceiving your partner. It's about your nervous system bracing for impact. Conflict feels really risky. Vulnerability feels like exposure. And our body says, keep it small, keep it contained. I'm fine becomes a reflexive shield. For many people, it's rooted in fear. Fear of a conflict escalating if you admit you're upset, fear of being labeled as too much, fear of rejection if your truth doesn't land well. And sometimes it's not even fear, it's timing. You genuinely haven't sorted through everything you need to about your feelings to be able to communicate it properly to your partner. You know something isn't right, but you just don't have the words yet. So you reach for the placeholder. I'm fine. But here's the cost. Even if the words buy you quiet, they don't buy you closeness. Your partner feels the tension anyway. They see the storm clouds, but hear sunshine. Not my best metaphor, but okay. Moving on. This mismatch creates unease, not safety. And repeated often enough, it trains your partner not to trust your words. The strategy backfires. It doesn't prevent hurt, it multiplies it. If you keep having the same fight with your partner, I don't think your problem is communication. I think there's a pattern underneath your relationship that's keeping both of you stuck, and most people never actually learn how to see it. That's why I created my free 7-day relationship challenge. Over 7 days, I'll walk you through why the cycle keeps repeating, what's actually driving it beneath the surface, and how to recognize it in your own relationship. You'll discover why you're probably not fighting each other. You're fighting two activated relational alarm systems. And this isn't just more information. Every day ends with one simple practice that takes just a couple of minutes. Because relationships don't change through insight alone. They change when you practice something different. By the end of the week, you'll understand your relationship in a completely different way. And once you see the cycle, you can't unsee it. If you're ready to stop having the same fight over and over again, join the free 7-day relationship challenge at the link in the show notes. So here's the nervous system's truth. I'm fine is a protective reflex, not a relationship strategy. Your body thinks it's keeping you safe, but it can't build trust from that. Protection says, don't rock the boat. Connection says, even if I don't have the words, I can name that something's here. That small honesty creates more safety than silence ever will. So on one hand, you keep saying, I'm fine, when you're not. Each time your partner senses the tension about this, but is told to ignore it. At first, they might check in again. Eventually, they stop asking. They stop trusting your words. And without realizing it, you've trained them to feel unsafe with your answers. The silence that you thought was keeping peace was actually taking down trust. On the other hand, you risk a small honesty. Instead of saying, I'm fine, you say, I'm not okay, but I don't have words for it yet. Or, yeah, something's wrong, but I need some time before I can talk about it. It's not polished, but it signals something powerful. You're letting your partner in, even if imperfectly. And paradoxically, That builds more safety than the pretense of calm ever could. The difference is enormous. The first path creates a double message. Your body says one thing, your words another. The second creates congruence. When your words and your energy line up, your partner can trust you. They don't have to decode mixed signals or wonder if they're imagining things. They trust what makes the relationship resilient, even in conflict. We see the same dynamic in research on couples. The strongest predictor of long-term satisfaction isn't conflict-free harmony. It's trust that partners can speak the truth and stay engaged. Just like in sexual connection, where safety and empathy matter more than skill, in emotional connection, the magic isn't in perfect words, it's in honest ones. So the contrast is this. I'm fine buys you quiet, but costs you trust. Honest imperfection feels riskier, but it lays the foundation for real intimacy. One causes erosion and the other repair. So what do you say instead of I'm fine? Because the goal isn't to spill every raw feeling the second it appears. The goal is to replace denial with honesty that still protects your nervous system. Even a small truth creates more trust than a polished mask. Here are a few simple alternatives. I'm not okay, but I don't have the words yet. I need some time before I can talk about this. I don't feel fine, but I want to circle back. Each phrase does two things. It admits that something isn't fine, and it reassures your partner you're not shutting them out forever. Another tool is to use the FINE acronym as a quick self-check. Before you say, I'm fine, pause and ask yourself, am I actually fine, or am I freaked out, insecure, numbed out, or exhausted? If you're in one of those categories, that's a signal your body is coping, not connecting. Naming it yourself helps you catch the reflex and choose differently. My clients who practice this often say that the hardest part isn't finding the words. It's tolerating the pause. Silence feels risky, so I'm fine rushes to fill the void. But if you can breathe, check in with yourself, and use a bridging phrase, you can create a moment of choice. The choice shifts the pattern. Even if you stumble, your partner feels the difference between a denial and honesty. So here's your takeaway. Don't aim for perfect. Just be truer in your vulnerability. Swap I'm fine for a small, real statement. Use the FINE acronym to catch survival mode in action. Trust isn't built through polished answers. It's built through your words and your presence when they line up. So if I'm fine has been your default, I want you to know this. You're not failing at communication. You're human. And your nervous system is doing what it's wired to do. It's protecting you from danger or rejection. The reflex makes sense, but I'm fine may keep things calm in the moment, but it builds distance down the road. So protection and connection are not usually the same thing. The truth is that relationships don't need something that's polished as an answer. They need congruence where your words line up with your energy. When you say I'm fine while your whole body signals the opposite, it chips away at trust. When you say something honest instead, like I'm not fine, but I need time to come up with what's going on, it creates the safety that your partner needs. That honesty, even in its rough form, is what allows your partner to trust you more deeply over time. So The next time that reflex comes up, just take a pause, think of the FINE acronym, and realize that you're just freaked out, insecure, numbed out, or exhausted, and maybe all four. So bridge the way from I'm fine to I'm not fine, but I'll circle back. And either way, the practice isn't about perfection. It's about choosing connection over a cover-up. That small honesties beat out denial every single time. And with practice, your nervous system learns that honesty is actually survivable and even rewarding. If you're tired of having the same fight over and over again, don't just listen to this episode and move on. Take the next step. Join my free 7-day relationship challenge and start seeing the pattern underneath your relationship. Because once you see the cycle, you can't unsee it. Click the link in the show notes and start your free 7-day relationship challenge today. That's it for today's episode of Coupled With. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to hit subscribe so you never miss what's next. And if you found it helpful, please share it with a friend or leave a quick rating and review. It really helps more than you know. And if you're curious about how we might work together or want more resources to strengthen your relationship, head over to my website, www.drrachelorlick.com. You'll find free tools, podcast extras, and ways to go deeper. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next time.